Hello, this is Donald, and for the next hour, I'll be reading from the August 25th issue of the Bills Digest and the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Another Kick at the Can by Alex Brasky, editor. And we're back. Christmas Eve and the NFL schedule. Training camp is upon us, serving as a prelude to what is sure to be another dramatic season for the Buffalo Bills. New pieces to fit in, positional battles to be won, and plenty of fun to be had at Bills head to St. John Fisher University in Pittsburgh, New York, hoping to set the stage for a breakthrough campaign. The off-season was quite the journey, beginning with the NFL draft, when the Buffalo went defense heavy with its first several picks, beginning with first-round cornerback Max Harrison, followed by 3 consecutive defensive linemen. That run of added defensive firepower turns up the heat on the man who made those selections, General Manager Brandon Beane, who did not beat around on the bush while appearing on WGR's 550, The Jeremy and Joe Show, shortly after the draft. During his appearance on the team's flagship station, Morning Show, Beane asserted that the team needed to bolster its resistance entering the 2025 season. Well, you guys were blanking in 2018 about Josh Allen. You guys wanted Josh Rosen, and now you guys are blanking that we don't have a receiver, said Beane upon welcoming to the show. Our job is to score points and win games. Where do we need to get better? Defense, and we did that. That is certainly the hope, as Buffalo has loaded up after allowing yet another 30-plus point performance to the rival Kansas City Chiefs in the 2024 AFC Championship game. I don't think we regressed. Time will tell. You know, this is the team on paper. The offense is on paper, but I don't really leave the last season on offense going, man, this didn't work, like we didn't get the job done. Beane said post-draft. I didn't see us coming up short in games or in the playoffs on the offensive side of the ball. And like I said the other day, best player on the board was receiver. I promise you we would have taken him at the time. That is how we valued it. And so that's what we have. That's what we did. Right or wrong, that's just how I feel you build a team. Not only has the pressure on Beane and his front office mates ratchet up, but has for head coach Sean McDermott and his defensive staff as well. The way Buffalo coaches defense this year will likely look a lot different than how it did in 2024, after the defensive coaching staff saw itself transform this offseason, much like the roster on the side of the ball. With coaching additions such as Ryan Nielsen, Mike Pellegrino, there have been voices added to the defensive media room, voices that have been on the forefront of instruction throughout the offseason program. One challenge Buffalo will face as it forges ahead will be building the continually needed when a group of new pieces come together. Building a continuity. With new coaches and players welcomed into the fold each season, comes expected growing pains as grown men and women get to know one another. Regardless of how many new faces you have, you still need to have some level of continuity, said McDermott. It helps with the culture, and it helps those players teaching the new players, the new faces, the new names. So there's I would say, a higher number of new faces and names this year. At the same time, with extensive turnover comes newfound hope, says Bills head coach. But that can be good too, in terms of youth, in terms of development, added McDermott. We have to stem that tide a little bit early, probably more on the defensive side with the number of new faces and names that we have, and getting them up to speed for these early contests that will be here. So that's all the part of the development process here. Setting expectations for the Bills this offseason has been difficult. With all the additions they made on both sides of the ball, including that which have made a wide receiver position with Elijah Moore, Joshua Palmer, and others on paper, Buffalo appears to be a much improved team. But at the same time, with so much unknown, I find the Super Bowl or bust level expectations that have swirled around the team this offseason to be a bit aggressive. With several levels of the defense having transitioned to a new look, plenty will have to go right if the Bills are able to take the next step and become a Super Bowl caliber squad. What would that look like? If they were to evaluate their standing in the AFC and come away with the Lamar Hunt Trophy en route to a trip to Santa Clara, California, what areas of the team must quickly come together throughout training camp? Potential is great. On paper, talent can win the offseason, but how this team develops on the field over the next several weeks will lay the groundwork for what's to come for the Bills beginning when the ball is snapped week 1. We explore the ins and outs of training camp within the latest edition of Bills Digest. Bills Digest Buzz Box. 5 hot topics Bills fans are talking about. Bills Digest editor Alex Brasky and editor-at-large Chris Brown weigh in on a handful of the hottest subjects Bills fans have been sounding off about on social media, internet message boards, and radio call-in shows. 1. Of the Bills players in 2025, who impressed you most through OTAs and minicamp? Chris Brown. It's hard not to be impressed by Elijah Moore's separation ability. It was consistent throughout the spring, and although we have yet to see real football with the pads on, not on yet, Buffalo's approach in the passing game could lend itself to be easy, high percentage completions to an early separator like Moore. Max Harrison still has some rookie lessons to learn, but his physical skill set is evident as he already has the smoothest hip flip in the corners on the roster. There might be some growing pains, but Harrison has the gifts to excel. Alex Brasky. TJ Sanders jumped out as a rookie who has the ability to contribute right away. I was not high on his selection after the draft, considering the capital the Bills gave up to get him. But after watching him perform a bit throughout a non-contact period of the offseason during rookie minicamp, OTAs, and mandatory minicamp, I believe Sanders' pass rush ability will translate to the professional level. His get off the line of scrimmage combined with his tenacity as an interior penetrator has me excited about his future with the Bills. 2. Which player on the Bills roster bubble do you want to see more from during camp? Chris Brown. I'm interested to see what Brandon Coddington can do to hold on his returner role that he manned as a rookie. He's going to be pushed by Laviska Shenault, who worked under special teams coordinator Chris Tabor previously. Codrington has also worked at nickel cornerback and may need to prove he can be a capital backup to secure a spot on the roster. Alex Brasky. I want to see the safety group develops. Cole Bishop is expected to earn a starting role in the second professional season, but once again was held out during a portion of the offseason due to an injury. If he can bounce back from the bumps and bruises he's experienced this summer and can be ready for training camp, plenty of my attention will be focused on whether or not he could justify the investment the Bills made in the second round of the 2024 NFL Draft. 3. Entering training camp, which Bills position group inspires the most confidence? Chris Brown. It has to be the offensive line. After a strong season from start to finish last year, the same group has even better depth behind them this season than last, with the likes of Ryan Van DeMark and Taylon Grable at tackle, and Alex Anderson at guard, and Cedric Can-Pran Granger at center. Entering the second full year of Joe Brady's system and under the tutelage of offensive line coach Aaron Kromer, Buffalo's offensive line has a good chance to be among the best in the league. Alex Brasky, linebacker. Although there's a question whether or not Matt Milano can withstand the rigors of a 17-game regular season schedule, the Bills are well stocked behind him. The team's leading tackler from a season ago, Dorian Williams, is waiting in the wings, and I am interested to see how quickly the Bills will pull the trigger on Williams if Milano shows signs of aging or wear and tear out the gate this season. Terrell Bernard is an ascending talent, and he can remain healthy. The sky is the limit. 4. Which position group are you most concerned with? Chris Brown. I'm more curious than concerned about the secondary will fit together. Buffalo has the talent necessary to fill out the secondary, but with Cole Bishop and Max Harrison be able to fill starting roles at safety and cornerback, respectively. And absent the ideal scenario with Damar Hamlin and Tre'Davious White fill the void. Those are sizable questions that must be answered in training camp and the preseason. Alex Brasky, the wide receiver group. I'm excited about the crop of talent the Bills have assembled, but it remains to be seen how they will fit within the team's passing game. Josh Allen has several new targets this season, and while I felt encouraged with how he and the new pass catchers fared during the offseason, the pads have yet to come on, so I'm excited to see how this group develops throughout training camp. 5. Did you see the Bills as Super Bowl favorites this year? Chris Brown. I do. Buffalo is younger and more inexperienced, but significantly more talented than they were last year. Coach McDermott and his staff are excellent at pulling new pieces on the roster together. They have heavy roster turnover last season and made it work in fitting it all together en route to a 13-4 season. I believe that, with a favorable schedule, they will be able to do much of the same again this year and perhaps takes things to the step further. Cross your fingers and toes. Alex Brasky. I'm having trouble with the lofty expectations surrounding the team this year. It was just a season ago when Buffalo was considered a team in transition. I feel that transition is still well underway. Although the Bills exceeded expectations in 2024, they have had a few critical positional battles worth following this offseason. And while the reigning MVP wears blue and white, Bills blue and white, I think those who view this team as a favorite to win the championship are getting ahead of themselves. Check back when Bills Digest midseason review is released. You are listening to a reading of Articles and features from Bill's Digest and the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. It's been fun to watch Josh grow. Sean McDermott remains in pursuit of his first Super Bowl appearance as head coach and enters another season in which his team will begin as a group with many unanswered questions. Here are a few comments from Bill's head coach with training camp upon us. Question: what does Josh Allen's leadership mean to the team? Sean McDermott: it's good to have him back, certainly. I think he's been documented out there. At least to do some extent. He got married and now he's back with the team. So life comes up and it's been fun to watch him grow. Really appreciate him being here, right? Because this is his team. He is our unquestioned leader and leader of the team. And what he does, first and foremost, lead by example. So yesterday, he was the first one in our meetings that we had with the players. Just in terms of physical process, he was one of the first in line, which I thought was really impressive based on his events of late. Question: how has Allen grown while stepping into the limelight the past few years? Sean McDermott: I think really been fun to watch and really good for our community and our fan base if they have a player like Josh. They can cheer for, and he makes amazing plays, and he continues to grow as a quarterback on the field. Just as amazing, though, is who he is as a person, right? The family he comes from, who he continues to become as a young man. What I've seen is truly genuine, authentic person who, yes, is in the limelight, yes, is one of the top players in our league and maybe the top player in the NFL. He is so authentic, so down to earth, so relatable. I think that's really the connection, and a cool piece about Josh is because he is who he is. And in the ways that who he is able to have the connection in our community. And again, it's genuine, it's authentic. And just, again, watching him out of the walkthrough today, a few minutes ago, I guess you would say you would never have guessed that he had just experienced what he experienced, right? So an unbelievable ability to connect, unbelievable to stay true to himself and where he comes from and who he is. Question: did you attend his and wife Hailee Steinfeld's wedding? Sean McDermott: yes. I was very grateful to be there, number one. Two, it was just what you would expect of a wedding. Just great to see. And two really special families coming together. Question: can you address James Cook presence and mandatory minicamp after being absent for the voluntary portion of the off-season? Sean McDermott: I credit James, business is business, and at the end of the day, I know he loves being around the team and the guys in the locker room, and he loves to play football. So I respect his decision to be here amongst the team and get some work in today. We're looking forward to that. Question: do you believe then that this is over in terms of Cook being in a trainee camp and participating? Sean McDermott: we're just taking it one day at a time. Yes, one day at a time. I mean, we've all been around the league a long time, and everyone has their own situations. They're all different, right? So I think, again, we need everyone to win, and we need everyone to practice. And so we expect James to be there on time, but also understand the situation. Question: Trey Devarius White was asked about mentoring first-round pick Max Harrison and seems excited about the idea. What are your thoughts on that? Sean McDermott: just like Josh, I'm incredibly impressed by Trey and his willingness to serve, willingness to share, willingness to impact the wisdom he's gained in this league for how many years he's now been in the league and share that with these young players. It's incredible, especially when they're battling for potentially the same position. I think that really says a lot about Trey as a person, and the words he did not come from, and these words did not come from. But I say, when I survey the situation, I look at Trey knows he has our first pick here, and it's almost like he feels like he's back, and he's back to play and play at a high level. But he's also here to help serve the future of the organization for many years to come. And I think that says a lot about who he is and his actions day in and day out. Question: what have you seen from Maxwell Harrison throughout the offseason? Sean McDermott: I think everybody saw the night of the draft was his character really shown through for what he is as a person, the energy he brings day in and day out, vibrant personality, great smile. Now it's time to play football, right? So he's learning the playbook, he's learning the techniques. Again, the onboarding process. How's life in the NFL this time of year? And what you're seeing really with Max is, let's just say he started here, and it's low. It's just all these rookies come in and start at a certain point, and then he's every day really been intent on getting better, having a purpose, going out to practice field, and a lot of our young players have been doing that as well. Question: how's Matt Milano done this spring? Sean McDermott: he's dialed in. Physically, he looks really good, and he's just really trying to have a good off season. I think it's been the first in, I think he's been the first 1 or 2 years now. Hasn't been having to rehab necessarily, but Matt's always working on things, always working on his body, making sure he's prime condition come training camp. Question: what do you anticipate learning more on young players on defense this offseason? Sean McDermott: listen, we've always wanted to lean on the young guys. Young guys play like anybody else. I've said this before. Young guys, old guys, it does not matter. It's who earns the right to play, bottom line. So it's not that Sean McDermott has not played a young guy because he's intentionally not trying to keep a young guy over here. It is who earns the job. Because I'm not going to put a young guy out there, an old guy out there, if their teammates don't trust them. Bottom line, so that's how we do it. 9 years of doing it, and it ain't going to change. I believe Jimbo will be ready to roll. At the conclusion of Bill's off-season program, General Manager Brandon Beane discussed several topics, including the ongoing saga between the team and running back James Cook. Here is what the Bills GM had to say on June 12th. Question: where are you at with James Cook, who was seeking a new contract entering the final year of his current deal? Brandon Beane: no, I think Jimbo, our interactions with Jimbo have been good the whole time throughout. I know he wasn't here for voluntary OTA, so everyone just draws their own conclusions. When you're talking about it's voluntary, we know that. We've had it before, even with players who weren't, lobbying for a new contract or anything like that. But Jimbo, he's a pro, he's a competitive dude, he loves to win. Yeah, of course he wants to take care of himself. Everybody does, and we love to see that. And we love to see here as many times as we can. And we know we have to fit things within the cap and the cash structure and all those things. But no, It's great to see him. Monday, when I first saw him here, when he came in for physicals at our goal meetings and stuff, and then chatted with him a couple of times. But no, it's good to see him, and he looks good out there. You can tell he's been working. Question: are there any talks going on between the two sides? Brandon Bean: yeah, I'll keep that between us as far as that's going. But relationship is very good, and I know Jumbo is getting ready to roll when we get to Rochester. Question: has he indicated that he will participate in camp? Brandon Bean: I mean, everything as far as I can tell, yeah. You'd have to ask him on that. I mean, he hasn't said, hey, I won't be there if there's no deal or any kind of circumstances. So, no. I believe Jimbo will be ready to roll whether there's a deal or not. Question: any update on Max Harrison's injury sustained near the end of mandatory minicamp? Brandon Bean: he just a little tweak. Tweak is like hammy area, but he should be fine. He's getting treatment, so should be good to go. He'll rehab and be ready for camp. Question: are you confident that everybody who might have missed some time out there will be ready to go once camp starts? Brandon Bean: knock on wood, yes I am. Question: how do you feel Joey Bosa specifically has been? Brandon Bean: Joey's done very well. I think this time of year, I know guys are missing, or some guys were doing individual, some guys were a little bit of a team. It's really, this is about preparation, getting everybody ready for camp. And so, if you got any concern at all, why expose them? They're doing walkthroughs, they're out there with their teammates. Question: what have you seen from Cole Bishop, who dealt with injury this offseason? Brandon Bean: I think Cole's been very dialed in, very intentional. He's been here a lot, kind of like we talked about with Dalton and some of the other guys. And he had a little tweak, but we just, again, being precautious. I think it was the regular season, he would have been able to fight through it and been very intentional. He's doing well. I think he's made some plays out there. He just needs as many reps as he can. So hopefully once we get to St. John Fisher, no setbacks, have a full camp. Question: how do you feel like Keon Coleman responded this offseason? Brandon Bean: I think Keon has been focused, dialed in. His agent and I have developed a good relationship. He's actually kin to Keon. And so I think he's very blunt with him, as just off of some of our conversation. And Keon can take it like, for a young man, I give him a lot of credit. It's not easy. Of course, anybody can take the praise. It's not easy to take criticism. And he took it unbelievable, the things that we had. And that's the thing I need to stress to him when he gets back, is if you do a lot of positive things, don't focus on just the things that we want to see you improve. And he's worked hard. He's been the whole time. You can see when him and Josh were here, they were forming that report, they kind of picking up where they were pre-injury last year. So I'm excited where he's at. Question: how has Dalton Kincaid responded to tough comments at start of the off season? Brandon Bean: Dalton, same thing. He's been here the whole time. Dalton is really more of an injury thing than he fought through, and nothing more than that. I think I've said this to some people. I felt like maybe I even probably was a little bit overcritical. I wasn't trying to be. I just probably could have done a better job of saying that. Let, like, hey, just, they're going to try to be physical. You're battling injury, so let's, try and armor yourself a little bit more. Question: Are there any positions that you're particularly concerned? Sorry, are there any questions you're particularly excited to watch play out when you get to training camp? Brandon Bean: When we start camp, we have to kind of ramp up. But once we get the pads on, it's definitely going to be a lot of time at O line, D line, those one on one pass rush, and then obviously when you're doing inside run periods and blitz periods, things like that. I'll be watching the O line, D line versus the skills. Top 10 Key Bills Players Entering Training Camp by Alex Brasky, editor. When folks forecasting the Bills' 2025 season, it's easy to identify the most essential factor in the team's success. It's reigning MVP quarterback Josh Allen. However, outside of Allen, which player's performance will be most critical when it comes to the team's latest pursuit of an elusive Lombardi trophy? Here is my list of those who must leave the stamp on the protective side of the ball if Buffalo hopes to come away with its first ever Super Bowl championship. 10. Running back Ray Davis. Later in this article, you'll discover just how important I find running back James Cook to the Bills' offensive equation. Thus, I also find his backup nearly as critical to the team this season. Davis enjoyed fruitful rookie season during which he amassed 442 yards rushing, which was fifth most among running backs. First-year running backs. His 631 yards from scrimmage, which included 189 yards receiving, placed him third among rookie ball carriers. His 113 carries was second most among Bills running backs, which is more than half of which Cook garnered during the 2024 campaign. Although it appears to be on a positive track, depending on how Cook's situation works out, Davis could wind up being indispensable to what Buffalo does offensively. And even if Cook remains a good soldier throughout his contract dispute and doesn't miss any time, I still expect Davis to be pretty heavily involved in Bills' running game this season. To make matters more intriguing, the Bills clearly like what they have in their second-year running back. His maturity is off the charts. He has already become a face of the community, and his on-field talent spoke for itself a season ago, particularly during a 23-touchdown, 152-yard effort, helping carry Buffalo to a 23-20 Week 12 victory over the New York Jets. He will be provided ample opportunity to take the next step this season. Davis will be a sneaky selection in fantasy football drafts over the next few months, and for good reason. I'm buying stock in a 25-year-old dual threat running back for the 2025 and beyond. Number 9, safety Cole Bishop. Bishop 2025 offseason began similarly to his rookie year, with an injury during the team's mandatory minicamp, forcing him from the practice field. But on final day before the team departed one Bills drive, the second-year safety appeared to increase his participation incrementally, which is a positive sign as the team looks ahead to training camp in 3 weeks. It would behoove Bishop and the Bills for him to be on the field for the extent of training camp, as the team appears primed to provide him with every opportunity to win a starting job alongside fellow safety Taylor Rapp. Damar Hamlin held down a top two role a season ago. Still, Bishop's athletic profile and skill set project him to be more impactful player at the position. He can stay on the field and quickly grow accustomed to the team's defensive scheme throughout training camp. 8. Taron Johnson. With so much changeover with the Bills secondary, its longest tenured member must be at his best if the group hopes to be strength on defensive this season. Johnson isn't old by any means, but he's aging as he enters his age 29 season. Coming off an off-season LeBron surgery, an 8-year pro played just 12 games in 2024, which is the lowest since 2019. With that said, while on the field, he still proved effective, coming away with a couple of interceptions while maintaining his status one of the league's premier players at his position. The 2023 season team All-Pro will be called upon to rock as Buffalo's coverage group alongside top outside cornerback Christian Benford, and his impact and leadership will remain as important as any team defender this season. Linebacker 7. Terrell Bernard. Much like Johnson, the Bills' middle linebacker is one of the cornerstones of Buffalo's resistance and will be called upon to carry perhaps even heavier load during the upcoming campaign. Bernard's running mate, Matt Milano, is coming off 2 significant injuries and is entering his age 31 season. It's unclear to expect from him, and while Dorian Williams, Buffalo's leading tackler in 2024, is waiting in the wings, Bernard will need to be at a top level to lend support if Milano's production were to dip or if Williams were unable to step back to that production. In other words, Bernard is the only Bills linebacker that is near a sure thing, and he must continue to develop into one of the top linebackers in the AFC. My most pressing question when it comes to Bernard's future is regarding his durability, as he missed a few games early last season while dealing with a pectoral injury. He had been readily available the previous 2 years, excluding a few other bumps and bruises, but as an undersized linebacker that stands 6'1", 224 pounds, it will be interesting to see how he holds up as his career progresses. Viewing Bernard during the Bills' OTAs and minicamp, it did appear as he may have bulked up a bit this offseason, which would bode well for his future durability. 6. Wide receiver Joshua Palmer. The Bills didn't add much on the offseason side of the offensive side of the ball this offseason, with Palmer being the team's premier free agent acquisition. He has exceeded 584 yards receiving the past 2 seasons, one of which 2023 was marred by injury, causing him to miss 7 regular season games. Palmer's high water mark for his career came in 2022 when he was targeted 172 times, coming away with 72 receptions, totaling 769 yards and 3 touchdowns for the Los Angeles Chargers. It appears as if Palmer will compete with fellow wide receiver Curtis Samuel and perhaps even Elijah Moore for targets in the Buffalo passing game, which also will feature Khalil Shakir and a second-year target we will mention shortly after this segment. Signing Palmer for 3 years, $36 million, the Bills would clearly prefer him becoming the top 3 target for Allen this season. His skill set features an impressive combination of speed and route running ability, which may allow him to separate from opposing cornerbacks a bit more effectively than wide receivers and a team's recent past. But time will tell if he's able to gain rapport quickly enough with his new quarterback to warrant the type of target share his new contract insulates he will receive. 5. Wide receiver Keon Coleman. Even more critical to the Bills' success in the passing game this season will be Coleman, who started his rookie year on a good pace before being hampered with a wrist injury during Week 9 matchup with the Miami Dolphins. Before his injury, he totaled 22 receptions for 417 yards receiving and 3 touchdowns in 9 games, including 9 receptions for 195 yards receiving and a TD in the 2 games before the injuries sustained against the Dolphins. After his injury, Coleman missed 4 games before finishing the year with 7 receptions for 139 yards and a touchdown in his final 4 contests. General Manager Brandon Beane and head coach Sean McDermott were each a bit critical how Coleman responded to his injury. Both have commented throughout the offseason on Coleman's impressive work ethic, leading to some added strength, which was apparent while watching him perform during the team's off-season program. Coleman appears set for a resurgent season and will be given every opportunity to become the elite outside target the team hoped he'd be developed into when they drafted him at the top of the 2nd round a year ago. He and Allen connected several times through OTAs and minicamp. With Coleman exhibiting the above-rim ability he displayed flashes of during his first year as a professional, not only do the Bills need him to evaluate his game, he appears more ready to do so. 4. Tight end Dalton Kincaid. Much like Coleman, Kincaid is in dire need of a breakout campaign, even more so, considering he is a 3rd-year player. There is no way around it. The 24 season was disappointing for the former first-round pick, but perhaps there was more to the injuries he dealt with throughout the campaign that met the eye. In addition, according to Pro Football Focus, Kincaid had a catchable target rate of 69%, the lowest among tight ends with at least 25 targets. While nothing is encouraging about that number, it does provide some context as to why he struggled to produce in his 2nd season in the NFL. Now, I wouldn't absolve Kincaid responsibility regarding his low catchable target rate, as he is also responsible for creating the chemistry with the quarterback necessary to produce positive results. But there is plenty to consider when it comes to Kincaid's future in the Bills' passing game. Throughout the offseason, there's been plenty of discussion regarding Kincaid's quest to build strength and add a bit of weight entering his 3rd year in the league, which I'm sure will continue to be a hot topic when HBO's Hard Knocks cameras are live from St. John Fisher University. But if his performance during OTAs and minicamp is any indication of what's to come, we would see a revenge tour of sorts for the Utah product. 3. Defensive tackle Ed Oliver. Another player in need of a revenge tour. Buffalo's former first-round pick defensive lineman Oliver had a career year in 2023, but his 2024 season began slowly before a late surge in the final weeks of the season. Simply put, the Bills cannot afford Oliver getting off to a meandering start in 2025, as several off-season additions have bolstered Buffalo's defensive line, but it remains an improvement as a unit. To put its best foot forward and find it a production it has been searching for the past many years, Buffalo's defensive front four needs Oliver to be his most consistent force. And knowing his temperament, I wouldn't be surprised if he spent the entire offseason plotting his resurgence. 2. Edge, Greg Rousseau. After receiving a lucrative contract extension this offseason, many will be expecting Rousseau to increase his sack production moving forward. a player who has consistently produced as a dynamic player off the edge, both in pass rush and run stopping situation. The former first round pick has yet to record a double digit sack season, with his career high of 8 being equaled a season ago. Now stepping into the prime of his career, it would be a significant boost for the Bills if Rousseau were to transform into the finisher the team had been lacking since McDermott and Bean's arrival. Buffalo brought in free agent acquisitions Joey Bosa and Michael Hoke to help supplement the pass rush, but Bosa has already shown signs of wear and tear, and it's not even July. And Hoke is out for the first 6 games of the regular season due to a PED suspension. The onus will be on Rousseau, and it has been the past few years to continue to carry this group. I think he has what it takes to take things to the next level. 1. Running back James Cook. The burning question entering the offseason was whether or not we would see Bills' number 1 running back during the mandatory portion of the team's offseason program. Cook answered that question when he has not only appeared on all 3 days of minicamp, but a full participant. Now, the next step is training camp, where Cook is expected to participate as he did during the off-season. That being said, he did leave the door slightly ajar for the chance that he would take another route come mid-July. Either way, it appears Cook will eventually suit up for the Bills come week 1, as he lacks the leverage needed to make a significant push for a new contract before his deal expires at the end of the upcoming campaign. Cook played less than half of Buffalo's offensive snaps during the 2024 season and was a liability in pass protection more often than not, which pushed Davis into the field at 24% rate and a third down running back, Ty Johnson, into the fold 29% of the time. Cook has yet to prove capable on a third down role, and that, along with the emergence of Davis and continued production from Johnson, make him more expendable than things may appear in the face value. After all, this is a running back who has contributed 2 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons and tied the franchise mark for rushing touchdowns in a single season in 2024. By no means is Cook easily replaceable, but I'm just not sure he's worth the $15 million plus he will be in search of come the offseason. I imagine some team will indeed pay him his expected fare, but I highly doubt it'll be the Bills. If Buffalo is to come to terms with Cook sometime in the near future, whether it's before training camp, before the regular season, or at the conclusion of the 2025 season, I believe the two sides will have to meet in the middle rather than the Bills succumbing to Cook's demands. I just don't see that happening. However, with so much on the line in the months to come, I also believe that Cook will once again be his best and provide the Bills with another top-tier season of production as he rapidly transformed into the second most important player on a team offensively, behind Allen. That's how I see things anyway. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from Bills Digest and an Niagara Frontier Radio reading service. Bills Bits. Extra points. Construction of the new Bills Stadium remains on schedule, with the short-term focus having shifted to completing the exterior facade. That process will include installing mesh-like exterior panels designed to keep the wind out of the stadium. Crews are also completing the 360-degree canopy roof that will protect 60% of the new stadium seating from the wind, snow, and other weather concerns. The stadium's designer, Populous, states, A unifying element, the canopy follows the form of the bowl and exterior facade, dipping down towards the end zones and rising towards the center. The canopy roof has a state-of-the-art snow melt system that the Bills' senior vice president of design, Frank Carvetti, claims is capable of clearing a 7-foot blizzard. As also per the Buffalo News, sales of the personal seat licenses, PSLs, have been picking up, with the Bills offering lower level end zone areas and in the 400 level as low as $1,000 with the lowest cost. The team nearly sold 8,000 PSLs from January 1st to March 31st and hope to have another 9,000 purchased from April through June. That is a significant increase from where the team was initially rolled out the PSLs for club level and lower level seating. Verizon will be the exclusive wireless telecommunications partner of the new stadium, with plans to enhance the fan experience by bringing cutting-edge connectivity to the stadium and its surrounding campus. Bills Hallmark movie amid production. The Buffalo Bills are ready for their close-up. Hallmark is amid production of the latest Christmas flick, Holiday Touchdown, a Bills love story, a made-for-TV movie centering around the Buffalo Bills. The movie was shot in East Aurora and Highmark Stadium during this past spring, with Bills players Damar Hamlin, Deion Dawkins, Dawson Knox, and head coach Sean McDermott each being featured during the film. Bills alumni, headlined by Jim Kelly, will also appear. Over 2,700 extras were on site during the stadium tapings, with many members of the Western New York community hoping to get their chance to be on screen. Holiday Touchdown, a Bills love story, will air as part of Hallmark's Countdown to Christmas beginning in mid-October. It's the 16th year of the event, which will present over 4,000 hours of holiday content to viewers worldwide. Bills set to explode out of the gate. Buffalo gifted most favorable schedule in recent memory by Alex Brasky, editor. The Bills' 2025 regular season schedule is as favorable a slate as a team has faced in a number of seasons. As after years of chasing down the number one seed in the AFC in hopes of earning home field advantage come playoff time, it appears the Bills are set up nicely to make a run at being the top dog. Beginning with a Sunday night home matchup with the Baltimore Ravens, Buffalo will be tested right out the gate. But following that contest, the Bills will enter a 6-game stretch over 7 weeks, including a bye week, during which they should have heavily favored against most, if not all, their opponents. The New York Jets, Miami Dolphins, New Orleans Saints, New England Patriots, Atlanta Falcons, and Carolina Panthers await the Bills in weeks 2 through 8. Week 7 bye, making a 6-1 or 7-0 start season a realistic possibility. The early bye is not ideal, as teams typically prefer a week off later in the season when the bumps and bruises begin to multiply. But notwithstanding, Buffalo should explode off the starting line in 2025, and perhaps the early bye week will serve as a springboard for the most critical string of matchups. After a Week 8 road tilt with the Panthers, the Bills will face off with their conference rival, the Kansas City Chiefs, in Week 9 before a divisional game against Miami. Then the Buffalo performs in weeks 11 through 15 could define their quest for the top spot in the AFC. Week 11 is a sneaky matchup with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a team featuring a solid quarterback in Baker Mayfield, who has thrown the most touchdown passes, 69 in the league, over the past 2 seasons. Mayfield will see the return of wide receiver Chris Godwin, who is injured for all but 7 games a year ago. Week 12 features another road game, this one against a team that Bees built in 2024, the Houston Texans, who are going through a bit of a roster changeover after losing Lamar Tunzel along their offensive line and wide receiver Stefon Diggs, who is now with the Patriots after sustaining an ACL injury midway through last season. Wide receiver Tank Dell was lost due to a hip injury last season and still amid his rehab. A timetable has not been presented for his return. Next up, a game against the Pittsburgh Steelers in Week 13, a team that looks entirely different than it did a year ago. Along with the addition of quarterback Aaron Rodgers, Pittsburgh also added wide receiver DK Metcalf, cornerback Jalen Ramsey, and tight ends Juju Smith, among others, to aid their push towards championship contention. The Steelers have gone all in at behind Rodgers, who could be entering his final NFL season and may present a challenge for the Bills if all goes well during their transformation. One thing to monitor in Pittsburgh will be whether or not top edge rusher T.J. Watt moves forward with the team after an apparent contract dispute this offseason. Week 14, one of the Bills' potential offensively in the league, the Cincinnati Bengals, comes to Orchard Park. Quarterback Joe Burrow was MVP candidate a season ago, and while Cincinnati is currently without 2024's leading sack getter Trey Hendrickson, who is amid a contract dispute, its offensive led by wide receiver Jamar Chase should strike fear in any opponent. Finally, to conclude the most daunting stretch the Bills will face in 25, a Week 15 divisional matchup with the Patriots, who should be much improved by this late season stage, with key additions made throughout the offseason, including many up front along the line of scrimmage at head coach with former Tennessee Titans head coach and Pats legend Mike Vrabel now at the helm. New England's addition of Diggs, if he's able to get healthy in time for the start of the season, should help second-year quarterback Drake May immensely, as he appears to be in the cusp of transforming into the franchise's next elite quarterback. Moving forward, the lowly Browns await in Week 16, followed by defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. The matchup with Philly is intriguing as it comes late in the season for the two teams who are expected to be at the top of their respective divisions, so there is no telling if either team will deploy its full roster with the playoffs approaching. It isn't Week 17, so I don't anticipate either team resting all their starters in the game, but some players may be held back with the big picture of postseason success in mind at that point in the campaign. Buffalo will wrap up things with the Jets in Week 17. I'm expecting Buffalo to be one of the worst. Expecting New York to be one of the worst teams in the league in 25. I feel like it did at head coach and hiring former Detroit Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn, but I don't think Justin Fields is the answer at quarterback, and the Jets roster was glaring holes elsewhere, including up front along the offensive line. See things all said and done, I could see the Bills finishing 15-2 with the number 1 seed, but time will tell if they're able to put a few moving pieces together this offseason and forge ahead with the best foot forward in the 2025 campaign. I'll be going game by game with predictions in the next issue of Bills Digest. You have been listening to a reading of articles and features from the August 2025 issue of Bills Digest. Your reader has been Donald. Thank you for listening.